With a career spanning half a century, which saw them through all kinds of operatic singing, staccato piano, and heavy layers of synth, not to mention various moustache and hairstyles, Ron and Russell Mael, aka Sparks, are back with their 26th album, The Girl Is Crying in Her Latte. Movies, and French cinema in particular, have greatly influenced the brothers' work, and they were even rewarded with a César, a French Oscar, for their film Annette. France 24 caught up with them to find out how Sparks fly these days.
Ron and Russell Sparks, thank you for giving us this interview to France 24. We're here to talk about your new album, The Girl Is Crying in Her Latte. What inspired this title?
We spend a lot of time in coffee places, and sometimes you observe people sitting alone, and you kind of and in a pensive mood, and you wonder what is kind of going through their heads. So this was a song trying to use kind of an imaginary girl that came into a coffee shop and starts crying in her latte, and kind of no one knows exactly why, and then other girls come in with kind of the same situation. We kind of saw it as a metaphor for the general feeling now. Maybe we're kind of seeing too much into it, but just of kind of melancholy and solitude, and so, but put in a song that's incredibly happy.
Now she's leaving the place. Someone's taken her place. Orders, then takes a seat. Looks like it's a repeat. The girl is crying in her latte, yeah. The girl is crying in her latte, sad. The girl is crying in her latte, wow. The girl is crying in her latte, bad.
The video for this title track is not one where you see a girl actually crying in her latte. On the contrary, you've got fabulous Cate Blanchett dancing energetically. How did you guys meet and come up with the concept?
Yeah, well, we were at the César Awards in Paris a year and a half ago, something like that, and we were nominated for the movie that we had written, Annette, and nominated. The film was nominated for several awards and also for music, which we happily won for the best music. And Cate Blanchett was also there receiving some sort of Lifetime Achievement Award. But before the show started, we had a dressing room there, and there's a knock on our door. I opened the door, and there's a woman that looked a lot like Cate Blanchett at the door, and she said, "Hello, I'm Cate Blanchett," and said how much she's been a fan of Sparks forever, growing up in Australia and all. And we were, just amazed at that situation, and we kept in touch with Cate since then, and then it became time to do our video for the first song, for The Girls Crying in Their Latte, and we really didn't have a good concept or an idea of what we wanted to do, because we didn't want to make it something just purely literal like the story is. So we got in touch with Cate, sent her the song, and say, "Hey, do you want to be in this video and do whatever you want to do?" And she said, "I love this song," and yes. And she came to LA, and we just did this thing where we said, "Do you stand out in front of us and do whatever you want to do, and we'll be in the back doing whatever we want to do, and we'll do it all in one take, the shot with no editing." So she concocted that idea of her just doing that crazy dance with that sort of odd persona where she has her headphones on too and her thick glasses and stuff. And it was, just she had something in her head that's what the song elicited for her. And we did 3 takes of it and sent her on her way.
So many people are crying in their latte. The girl is crying in her latte, yeah.
You've also treated us in this new record to your trademark staccato, also lyricism and operatic themes, but also this was very synth heavy, which I really appreciate. How has your way of composing evolved over the years? Do you start with the music or the lyrics, or what's the
Well, we pretty much always start with the music first and then write the lyrics after, because it seems like it makes it less tied into a box of, da 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 da. And so, you can be kind of more free with the lyrics when they don't have to be kind of fitting a grid like that. And, years ago, we would only write with either a piano or guitar and come up with the song, and then you'd bring it into the studio. But now we still do that same thing, even with a new record on some of the songs. But having our own studio now for the past probably 6 albums, we're able to kind of sometimes just go into the studio and not have an idea of where it's going to go, and just figure out a song, try to figure out how just an instrumental, a sound or kind of a flow would lead to a song. It's expanded our way of doing music. And also I think it's altered the way a lot of our songs sound, not just for the pure sonic element, but for what they are as a song.
You've got a career that's spanned 5 decades. You survived the 80s, which was not always an easy time to be. You bounced back in the 90s. You've been pretty much present, I think, for the last 20 years. What has been your favorite era, if I may ask?
Well, I don't know if we have any one favorite era, because we kind of see everything as one sort of continuum, our career. And I think it's something that Edgar Wright really wanted to stress as well in the documentary, The Sparks Brothers, that he did about Sparks, was that he didn't really consider there to be the golden era ever within Sparks, that he thinks it's all one long era, that maybe some periods of that Sparks has been less visible to the public for various reasons kind of beyond our control, but that the band has always continued working even in those periods. So for us, we don't really see things in terms of, oh, that was a great period. I mean, there's obviously times where there were things that happened that were really, that mean a lot to us. I mean, one thing that really means a lot was even the Annette movie where France embraced Sparks so much, and even with the César Awards and everything. And for us being Americans, it was such a rare thing to happen. We also just like to see things more as just a continuum.
So may we start.
This is my baby.
I also want to look towards the future. People talk a lot about AI intelligence and its use in music. Have you ever, messed or played around with it to try and simulate Sparks lyrics or, chord progressions?
Well, ironically, somebody gave us some lyrics that were done a couple days ago with some AI program, and they were really terrible. So we don't, we kind of see AI, when it's used in a way where it's trying to emulate somebody, then it's really just kind of, at best, it's plagiarism. In the case of this one that we saw, it was plagiarism, but it was kind of a sad version of Sparks where it had really little to do with us. So, I mean, if you use AI in some really beneficial way, like using it for, medical purpose or things like that, then it's great. But where it takes the place of actually the human being doing, giving thought to a creative endeavor, then is kind of, it doesn't seem like it's the best use of good technology.
This is not a place that I can exist, not a break from this. I just don't want this. Mama, is there a remedy? Can I just go back where I used to be? I was happy where I was previously, just floating there, stood tall.
I'm going to talk about your relationship with France, which has been quite close since your early days. Why do you've worked with Lerita Mitsuko amongst other French artists, but I was wondering, why do you think your relationship with France and Europe as a whole has been so different to back home in America?
Well, originally when we started playing, we had such a small audience in Los Angeles, and even though that was our home, and the reaction immediately when we went to the UK, if you can call that Europe, it's in the broadest sense, was so different. But our reaction kind of all over Europe was different than what we had in America. We kind of felt like there was a kinship somehow with our sensibility that was being lost on the American audience. And since that time, we've, it's kind of just been an accident, but, we've had relationships with other French artists along the way. We had kind of a project that unfortunately didn't happen with Jacques Tati in the 70s, and then the film with Leos Carax, and then our relationship with Lerita Mitsuko. And so we've kind of managed to feel so at home artistically here, where sometimes in America we feel like aliens.
Well, Ron, Russell, gee, that was fun. Thank you very much.
So many people are crying in their latte. So many people are crying in their latte. So many people are crying in their latte.
They're known for their cuisine and saying hello with a kiss. They only work 35 hours per week, when they're not on strike, that is. How true are these clichés about France? Every week, Florence Villeminot tears apart stereotypes. Join us for insight into French culture and current events to understand what makes the French so unique.
French Connections, presented by Florence Villeminot on France 24 and France24.com.